here. Hold on one second,
There
guys.
you go.
There we go. And got everybody coming in. Many people. Okay, thank you everybody for coming in. So again, I am Crystal Mitchell. I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, and this program that we've been doing for the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, I think now, is co-hosted with and co-supported with the Black Business Association, the BBA, and also Mr. Stephen Turner, who has an awesome producer here. He helps out a lot, bringing in some really fine people. So we can't do this without you, and we can't do it without you guys. So this is a forum that those of you that are participating and coming in, ask questions. This is a place for you to ask questions. So, and we encourage you to do that. So you can put it in the chat room. We're recording the briefing, the webcast, and I will send it out to you. And if you have any other information or questions you have, you can send that to us, and we'll make sure it gets to whoever it needs to get to. So take advantage of this, because you guys don't normally have VPs from Bank of America at your fingertips, and you normally don't have all the community leaders at your fingertip. We have Daryl Sweeney. Hey, Daryl, how are you? We have Mr. Greg Sneed. He's an awesome resource here, so take advantage of it. So with that, I am going to turn it over to my good friend, Mr. Terry Gilbert, and you can share with us what.
All right.
Over at Vermont Slauson and in Terry Goubertin's world.
Well, first of all, my background is a scene from Echo Park, where I live.
Awesome.
So that's a view of the lake looking at downtown. But let me add my welcome to everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here and connecting not only words, but lives and stories, and now we got pictures. So I would continue to urge everyone to use this venue to bring topics. We're certainly at a time when we have to really think through our pivoting in our community. And one thing about Vermont Slauson, and in terms of Black Lives Matter, it's definitely an economic turnaround, an economic survival. And we really have to think about what that means to each of our businesses and our purpose in the community, as well as just for our businesses. So I don't think this is any one person's mission, but it's certainly going to be collaborative. Vermont Slauson has, as of March, we've closed our offices, but we are by no means not sitting down. We've been actively involved in working with the disaster loan programs that are out there. For those of you that did not apply for the PPP or the Emergency Economic Injury Disaster Loan, otherwise known as EIDL, please feel free to call me and we can talk through how that works. We have resources, contacts, and certainly information to provide, like many of our folks on the call here today. And we're happy to support you. Many of our focus has been with our restaurants. There's probably 20, 30 legacy restaurants in the community, including cafes and catering companies and food trucks. We've all been around 10, 20 years, and some of our organizations that have been around for decades, we're supporting them in how to navigate this, because this will not be the only time money will come our way. And it's important that this community receive all the money that's being passed around and coming down. It needs to come focused through us. We are in an opportunity zone. I don't know if many of you know that. Probably most of you have heard that terminology, but we are more than just an opportunity area where funding should come to the community and invest in this community. We've been saying that for 50 years, and it took a legislative policy to finally make it come true. But we need to tell our stories, each and every one of us, of what we're doing in our businesses, and really make a meaningful impact. And I'm just not saying words to say words.
Don't worry about it. I'll fire up on the computer. Don't worry about it.
Ken, can you put yourself on mute, please, sir?
Oh, okay, Ken.
Okay.
What I wanted to put a larger perspective of what we're doing, the work we're doing, is that in 2028, what's that going to be? That's going to be the Olympics.
Mm.
The Olympics, and the millions of people are going to be traveling down Crenshaw Boulevard and through South LA from LAX to downtown. And we need to be ready. I think by 2025, we need to have our ducks in order and start inviting the world to come in 3 years from then. But we certainly have our challenges ahead to bring money to South LA. And what we're doing at Vermont Slauson is putting our programs together. As probably many of you know, that we've been designated as a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, and we are working and refining that program after we get through this lockdown period, and we're going to come out with a different program that's applicable to our business owners in the community. So for now, we're working on the disaster loans, working with each and every business owner. For me personally, we probably have somewhere between 65, 70 clients. As a total, within the last 90 days, we have probably somewhere between 150 and 165 new clients that are coming in that need assistance. So we're there to provide one-on-one consultation. We're there to provide workshops, seminars, classes, online, digitally, and we're there to provide resources. So any contacts with the city, any contacts with the
Mm-mm. Is he back? He's lost.
He froze up.
Okay. So while he's coming back, yes, Vermont Slauson is very active in the community, as well as the BBA. So while Terry is coming back to us, Stephen, can you give us a hello and a shout out for the BBA?
Yes, it's my pleasure. Again, I'm Stephen Turner. I'm the managing principal of the State Group. We're a risk management insurance company, and we specialize in small to mid-sized businesses, anywhere from 15 to 80 employees, as well as we provide workers' comp, general liability, and group insurance. Also, I'm proud to be part of the Black Business Association, which we unapologetically support businesses run and operated by African-American businesses from an advocacy point of view, legislative, as well as networking. At this point, it's my pleasure to, Crystal, with your permission, to introduce our our special guest.
Yes.
Anthony Turner. Anthony is the Senior Vice President and the Marketing Executive at Bank of America. In that capacity, he's one of the few of African descent that holds that title within Bank of America, one of the largest institutions in the world. Anthony leads the team and relationship management that provides lending and treasury management banking solutions. As well as Anthony is a brother from the community. He's from Los Angeles, and he's matriculated through USC and done some good things. Without further ado, those on the audience, let me introduce you to Anthony Turner.
Thank you, Brother Turner. For those who weren't on the call a little earlier, I want to thank my uncle, Stephen Turner, for the invite. And then also everybody who has joined today. I'm happy to be here and address this group. I'm actually a little bit excited because we've been in the work at home posture for about 3 months now, since March. And this is actually the first time I've got a chance to put on a jacket. And so I'm excited about, so from the waist up, I'm looking pretty corporate professional. But yeah, so thanks for the opportunity. I thought, I do see a few familiar faces here, but I know, I'm new to a lot of the folks on this call. So I thought I'd, give a little bit of my background and then get into a little bit about what Bank of America is doing, and then open it up to the moderators for some questions. So just as, Stephen mentioned, I am a LA boy. I'm a local boy. Was raised in the community of Watts up until the time I was in the 9th grade, and then moved to Inglewood in my high school years. Went from Westchester High School to down to San Diego to UCSD to get my economics degree down there. And then after that, came back up to LA and worked for a little while, and then got my MBA from USC, from the Marshall School of Business. And since then, that was 97. Since then, I've been working in financial services, primarily commercial banking, for like the last 23 years. I did have a few brief stints where I broke off and did some entrepreneurial ventures, but for the most part, it was in middle market lending, commercial banking lending at a few different institutions. So I'm a father of two. I have a 28-year-old daughter who is also works at my firm on the Merrill Lynch side, and then I have a 26-year-old son who is finishing up his last year of law school and is a certified sports agent. So they're both proud of both of those guys. LA, as Stephen mentioned, I'm from here, so LA is near and dear to my heart, and I'm really concerned and like to be involved in everything that's going on here. From my professional career, as Stephen mentioned, my current title that I took over at the beginning of this year is market executive for our global commercial bank. And what that means is the way we define middle market lending or commercial banking is companies with revenues from 50 million to 2 billion. And so I would love the opportunity. I would love the day when we have a lot more of our Black-owned businesses that fall within that category. But we also have our business banking group, which focuses on companies from 5 million in revenues to 50 million. And then we have our small business banking group, which focuses on companies up to 5 million. So that's kind of how we break down and cover the market by revenue. My territory specifically, I have 20 bankers that report to me, and we cover a market from the Ventura County to the north and all the way to the Inland Empire to the south and everything in between. And so, we focus, that's the geography we focus on, and we partner up with all the other entities that focus on other size businesses that cover that market as well. This may sound a little bit like a company line, but I've worked at a handful of institutions, and I'm extremely proud to represent Bank of America. And it's several reasons. This company, this organization is more committed to diversity and inclusion than any place that I've been. It starts with the top. Our CEO, Brian Moynihan, he sets the table, he sets the standard. He actually is the chair of our diversity and inclusion council. He's the chairperson, and you wouldn't see that in any other large bank. And so because it matters to him so much, he pushes it down to his direct reports and so on until it gets to the local markets. And so that's something that I'm extremely proud of. I'm proud of, Bank of America's commitment to some of its affinity groups. We have organizations within our organization that focus strictly on African Americans. So we have our Black Professional Group, which is a nationwide effort with local chapters in all the different cities. I'm the outgoing chair. I was the chairperson for the Southern California Black Professional Group for the last 2 years, and that's responsible for about 1,500 Black associates. And we're doing things like mentoring, recruiting and retention, community outreach, community volunteerism, and quite a few things like that. And then we also have our Black Executive Leadership Team, which is about 20 individuals here in Los Angeles that focus on making a case for the bank devoting more resources to African American community, business community, nonprofit and for-profits. We also focus on getting leaders like myself more visibility with senior leadership so that we can get folks to move to that next level. And the Bank of America is very supportive of both of those entities. Some of the other things that I'll just mention briefly, and then there may be more questions on them later, but as I mentioned, I grew up in the Watts community, and Bank of America just recently led an effort to remodel the Jordan Down projects, which was 3 blocks away from where I grew up. And so we put in $56 million worth of construction loans to redo the Jordan Down projects, and 50 million or so in tax credits. So that was something that made me extremely proud. And then I know most of you guys aren't here to meet Anthony Turner. Most of you guys are here to talk about this $1 billion commitment that has been in the headlines. Just to touch on that, we're still working out some of the details. All the details are not finalized yet. And so the money is not earmarked for any specific organizations. But what I can say is that there are a few buckets that the money will fall into. We were looking for programs or partnerships with organizations that focus on racial equality. We're looking for partnerships with organizations that focus on economic opportunity, and that could be anything from an incubator program, which supports small businesses. It could be job training programs. It could be home ownership programs. So that falls all under economic opportunity. And then the last one is the healthcare initiative. And that was brought on because even before we had the civil unrest caused by the murder of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and a host, laundry list of others. Before that happened, B of A was already putting some plans into effect to impact the disproportionately higher rate of death amongst African Americans than other groups, with the COVID-19, the pandemic. And so that was already in the works. And then once we had the George Floyd murder, then our leader, decided that, okay, we need to accelerate this program. We need to put more money into it and have it not just focus on healthcare, but focus on some of these other issues like racial equality and economic opportunity. So that, for all those reasons, I'm extremely proud of this organization. We, as far as my knowledge is, we're the first organization to step up with such a large commitment of $1 billion. And that $1 billion will be over 4 years. It's not all at once, and it's not all going to one particular market. It's going to be spread out throughout the country. And so we have yet to find out how much will be allocated to LA. But as a member of the Black Executive Leadership Team, once we do figure out how much will be coming to the LA market, our market president organization will be talking with the Black Executive Leadership Team to get recommendations on how these funds should be dispersed and spent, that type of thing. And so we're not looking for the usual just cutting checks for philanthropy. That's not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for more for programs that are sustainable, programs that are scalable, that can get bigger over time, programs that can have a lasting impact for years to come. So it won't be a situation where we're just writing checks and then just take off and not know what happens. We want it to be an ongoing partnership with some different grassroots type organizations that can have a multiplier effect in our community for years to come. So with that, I'll stop with my opening remarks, and then I'll turn it over to the moderators, and you can start asking whatever questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Anthony, for giving us, introducing yourself to us, to many of us that hadn't met. As I said, I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, and I don't know if you had ever heard of the founder of Recycling Black Dollars, and that was Muhammad Nazardine. You might be a little young, but
no, I've heard of him.
Okay, so Muhammad's goal. One thing we know that as a whole, as people, we need unity, right? And so traditionally, as funding has come to our communities, it's been chunked up here and there, and all of us are working for the same goal, Black people, but we're not getting the resources, all the, the funding that can really make a difference, to make an impactful difference in our community, and hence that's why we're here. Right? We all know, everybody here that's a community leader knows that finding funding for our businesses is challenging. Even when they have everything in order, it's still challenging. There are people that are getting the PPP that may not have ever gotten funding with any bank in the city, and they were doing business the way they were supposed to do it. So one of the things I like to see, and as you guys haven't allocated, if we had one, and I know this has been done because I know it's been done in the Hispanic marketplace, where a collective grouping of organizations went after a block grant, which then disseminated down through the other program, through the other members of this coalition, and they were able to really make a difference in the Hispanic community. Is that something that could happen in our community? We have a block of organizations working, we get a larger $1 million, whatever, and it's disseminated so that we can make a real impact.
So that's a good question. I think obviously there's strength in numbers. Yes. And banks, they want to get as much bang for their buck as they can. And so if you pull a group of organizations which have a bigger footprint, a bigger reach, I think the chances of getting that type of funding is increased. One thing I would say too is that so Bank of America made this commitment. I'd like to see all the other banks and a lot of other corporations do make similar commitments or even larger commitments. And that would, if we had all the large banks and all the large corporations make these kind of commitments, then think about what we could accomplish with several billion, with 10 billion, with 20 billion versus just the $1 billion commitment. So, put pressure on your organizations, and make them, hold their feet to the fire, make sure that they are supporting the community. And every institution should be supporting the community that they serve. And so that's one of the things that we do at Bank of America is we want to make sure or get as close to it as possible that our associates mirror the mirror the markets that they serve. Meaning, if we have a certain amount of African American percentage of African Americans in Los Angeles, that we have a similar amount of Black African Americans at positions within the organization. And we can talk about that in a little more detail down the road if you guys want to. But a long answer to your question is that, yeah, I think there's strength in numbers, and if Black organizations work together and pool their resources and their influence, you will have a much better outcome.
Okay, I like that idea. And then I definitely like the idea of us, that the entities, the corporations represent everybody in the community, and that includes us as Black people, because most of the time we're highly underrepresented, and it's important. So, Mr. Terry, you have a question for Anthony?
Yeah. Actually, it's more of a form of a comment that the history of Vermont Slauson is about 39 years in the community, and our CDFI designation should have some meaning now, because it's not easy to get that designation, but more importantly, we've invested in Bank of America for 20, 30 years. And I just want to put it out there, Stephen, that on behalf of all our callers, that we're an organization that sort of fits the question that Crystal had about alignment with the community, programming. And we would certainly be interested in having a discussion about, putting funds together that align with our community. It's about time that the community, we put our foot forward in developing credit, bring everyone's credit up so that we can open new doors and new opportunities and not look at credit the old way, but what can it do for us in the next few years? So I open the doors to you, Anthony, let's have a chat about how our organization can be part of that alignment with B of A, since we are obviously customers as well as investors in B of A.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. The Black Executive Leadership Team, along with our Market President organization, which I'm sure you know some of those guys over there, because they mentioned to me that we have provided support to Vermont Slauson.
And you have.
Historically. And you have. And which we want to continue to do. And so, yeah, we can partner up and have some good, open, honest discussions about where we go from here. Absolutely. Yep. But I just want to make a comment, and this is a little bit off topic, I guess, but
Don't freeze up now.
I know, huh?
I did it.
So hopefully he's coming back. There's been another question. Yes, because one of the things that we all have to work toward while Anthony is coming back is making sure that all of us are with the boots on the ground. We know exactly the circumstances and the situations that our business owners are in intimately, especially those of us that worked for during the metro, when the metro line was being constructed. Terry, I know, we were out there, boots on the ground, talking, and we know that the loss of a lot of those businesses and most of it is capital.
That's it.
I mean,
capital and accounting challenges.
Yeah, definitely accounting challenges. But I think that's because, even those of us that provide those services, we can just provide so many things free.
That's right.
Because we're still running businesses. And so when the organizations are limited, and I hope Anthony, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. My technology dropped. I was on the roll too, boy. But go ahead.
Yeah. All right, go back. Go ahead. Continue on. And then there's two questions that I have after that. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was that, I think the best way to close the wealth gap is home ownership. And, I see a lot of these homes being sold, and they're not being sold to our children or the next generation. They're turning over. And so some of these communities that were predominantly Black, affluent areas are now, not what they were. They instead of being 90% Black, now they're 50% or 60%, or and I just think that that's going to be detrimental to our community in the long run. And so I want to focus a lot on getting our young folks ready, or that next generation ready for home ownership, because from home ownership, you get that equity where you can send your kid to college, or you can break off and then start your small business, because we also don't own a business in our community, which is another major problem. The dollars don't stay within our community. And so to me, home ownership is the first key step, and then that leads to more business owners and everything else. And so that was just the point I was going to make.
Okay, fantastic, and I absolutely agree. The first line of wealth is land and property and collateral, and those are a lot of things that are in our business owners and our people don't have. There is a question here from Ken Hicks. He is asking, is there a mechanism to track African American PPP applicants that have applied for the via the B of A website? Many of our clients, some of our clients have been denied, and they do not have a B of A credit card, and they've been banking with them for years. So how do they track, and is there some way that they can follow up if they haven't received that? And are you guys also providing the EIDL?
What now?
The EIDL loans, are you guys also doing those, the grants and loans, or?
No. So we were very active in PPP. And all of my team was up at 5 a.m. when the program went live, trying to help our clients. And I think there was a misnomer out there that all the big banks were focusing on larger companies. And that might have been the case at other institutions, but it definitely wasn't at Bank of America. I could just run down a few stats. But for globally, for the whole country, we processed over 325,000 loans, which totaled over $25 billion. And the average loan size, people thinking it's the $10 million loans, but the average loan size was 76,000. And 80% of those loans went to companies with 10 employees or less. And that's nationally. Locally, which is more important to us on this call, LA, we had over 30,000 applications, and that was for $2 billion worth of total loans. And 75% of that went to companies with 10 employees or less, and then 99% of it went to companies with 100 employees or less. So it was specifically what it was meant to be for small businesses. Now, I don't have the granular, the information broken down to how many of those applicants were African American. I do know personally that I recommended friends of mine that own businesses to the program, and they received their funding. And but I don't know exactly, the ratio or what percentage was African American. And but you can call your bank, and if you're with Bank of America, you can reach out to your small business banker, your business banker, your commercial banker, and try and get more details on why you might not have been approved. The program goes on until June 30th, I believe, right. And there's still quite a bit of money left over. It didn't all get used, and so feel free to apply and go to your local bank and apply, because one of our prerequisites was you had to be an existing customer and you had to have credit. So we had to know kind of your credit profile, because if somebody just has a checking account and we've never looked at their financial statements, we have no real idea of how credit worthy that person might be. And so you need to have credit and have an existing relationship with us. But I encourage anybody to talk to the specific banker and to try and get more detail about their specific situation, because I can't speak to all the different applications.
Anthony, one of the callers asked about the plans for 54th and Crenshaw branch. Do you know what the plans are since it's been closed?
I'm not sure. So what I can tell you is that some of the branches during this work from home posture have been shut down temporarily, just because there wasn't the foot traffic wasn't going into the branch, or maybe some of the employees didn't feel comfortable about interacting with the public because they were concerned about an elderly parent or something at home that they didn't want to take the COVID-19 to. So we did collapse, quite a few branches. And I'll get back to you on that. I'm not exactly sure if that's one of them, but my guess is that might have been one of the ones that was closed temporarily just to deal with this pandemic.
Okay.
Daryl Sweeney had a question. Daryl, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. Hey.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning, Crystal and everybody. Anthony, just a quick question. You had mentioned one of the buckets was racial equality. By the way, my name is Daryl Sweeney. I'm the Community Outreach Director for Senator Stephen Bradford. He chairs the Senate Banking Committee. And I think I met you with Daryl Brown before up at the City Club. But I had a question, and I'm a recovered banker, by the way, home savings and Washington Mutual many years ago. But I also serve as an advisory board member for the Mervyn Dimely African American Political and Economic Institute at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And we have, and I would like to maybe just talk to you offline to see if what we're doing there fits within one of your buckets. And so maybe I'll shoot you a private memo here to see if I can connect with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the members of the Black Executive Leadership Team, we got together yesterday and everybody was brainstorming on organizations that might fit within what we're trying to accomplish with these funds. And I'll be happy to talk to you about what your organization is doing and see if it's something that could be a good fit. Like I said, the criteria is that it's going to be a long-term program. And that it's going to be scalable, something that can get larger and impact, more people to have a multiplier effect in our community.
Yeah.
While we're on that topic, so the promise is $1 billion over 4 years. Do you have some idea where the money is, what social programs and community programs that the money is earmarked for? You guys thrown out some.
So not at this time. We don't know. The money is not earmarked for any specific program at this time. There's going to be once they've determined the final details of how the money is going to be, dispersed, nationally, then the Black Executive Leadership Team, we call it BELT, will be meeting with our market president group and then our Brown OLAs, which is our Hispanic group, will also be meeting with the market president group to make recommendations, and then we have to justify why we feel a certain kind of way and what impact it could have. So at this time, it's still early. We're probably a couple weeks away from knowing all the details, and but we wanted to get ahead of this, and we wanted to start talking about companies that may or organizations that may fit within fit within one of the buckets. And one of the things I talked to Brother Turner about was, years ago when I was earlier in my banking career, I used to volunteer at a incubator program whereby, small businesses could go in, they could get legal advice, they could get coached, they could get accounting services, banking services. We as lenders would go there and give lessons on access to capital and help them with, applications and that type of thing. And so that was just a great program. And I'm looking, and if somebody on this call may be able to help me find institutions like that that we can also partner with. That's just one idea of an area where we can have a meaningful impact.
Well, actually, all of us do. We've all are in that space in different areas. Of course, Vermont Slauson, they have workshops. My area is focused on accounting and booking and make sure that our businesses have financial documentation and accounting systems. So that's from the Recycling Black Dollar standpoint. And the BDA has their focus is really on the minority certified businesses, the supplier diversity. So of course, making sure everybody's bank loan ready, business ready, and contract ready. But one of the areas, and since you've been in banking for a while, with our community, financial literacy and financial education, both from and I think we spend a lot of time focusing on that on an individual, personal level. But I think and we all will agree with this, that our businesses don't have that. If you don't have it personally, you definitely don't know financial literacy from a business aspect. So some of that funding should be provided to educate our businesses about money. Absolutely. And how it really works, right? The other thing is, one of the things we saw with PPP was our small businesses, micro-owned businesses, did not have relationships with their banks at all. So is there some programs that B of A has that reaches out to its bank depositors and embraces and brings them in so that they can meet the branch managers and help them work out plans so that they will be bank loan ready. Because right now, we saw with PPP, if they had a bank account with you, but they didn't know anybody else or know that, how do I get money?
Yeah, so I mean, you make a great point. It always pays to know people, right?
Yes.
Within the organization I keep referring to, Black Executive Leadership Team, we have folks that across every line of business, from our Merrill Lynch side to our small business side to our business banking side. And so we have individuals that are solely responsible for making connections in the community, going out and doing financial literacy for whatever area that they cover, and then making one-on-one interactions or giving people a higher touch, higher level of service, so that they do have one of us at the bank that's an advocate for them that can help get things through. Because you always, no matter what, it's just not banking, but whatever, no matter what it is, you need advocacy, right? And so
Yes.
if you have that person, that sponsor within the organization that knows you, that can vouch for you, that can go to bat for you, it makes all the difference in the world. And so, we have a list of, organizations that we're affiliated with that we're trying to, make deeper connections with, and then companies as well. And so, we are working on that, and we do have some things that we're doing with our Black Executive Leadership Team to kind of penetrate deeper and know all the organizations out there. And if you guys as entities have a list of Black-owned businesses that you can share, and we can start incorporating that into the names that we're going after, or the people that we're trying to make some connections with, that'd be fantastic. Because at the end of the day, the bank is the bank. They want to do business. They want to loan money. They want to do all that stuff. But we just need to know who's out there, and we need to help them get ready for that next step. And so this could be a meaningful way to do that.
That's one of the things that Recycling Black Dollars do. We have a resource guide, and we have a network into our community of the businesses, especially in the South LA and LA County, where we have, and all of us, I believe, have almost personal relationships with the businesses that are operating in our community, existing and newly startup businesses. And Terry could talk more about that, because we all have workshops and we have one-on-one coaching and interaction with these businesses, really trying to help them become successful. So Terry, would you like to address anything?
Chime in?
Yes, chime in there, sir.
Where you at, Terry?
Okay,
there you go. I see you.
You see me? Here we go.
Yeah.
Waving. All right. Well, before I give my comment, I want to ask a question from from Gregory Sneed. I think it's important to know about the plans for B of A. I know that there are retail centers that are on hold right now, but is there any plans to expand in South LA? I mean, there are probably other ways to have footprints in banking. Like for example, Union Bank has a bank inside one of the high schools, right? And so we're just sort of interested if B of A will expand in South LA. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I'm not on the consumer side. I'll start by saying that, and I think banking is evolving. When I first got started early in my career, it was all about brick and mortar branches, right, and all that. And so nowadays, I don't know about you, but I very rarely need a branch because of technology. I can deposit my checks with a cell phone and all that. So the need for actual brick and mortar is declining and going to continue to decline over time, just because of technology and that type of thing. But I can't really speak specifically to what's going to happen in terms of increased branches. My guess would be that it's not going to be increasing, because that doesn't seem to be the trend with what's going on in banking because of technology.
Well, on that same note, then we'd have to create some other liaison where the individuals, if there's no brick and mortars, then there's no way to meet the people, right? So again, we're back to no relationships. So in that conversation is, how do you still extend yourself out to the communities so that the individuals have someone that they can pick up a phone with? And we're just not depositing money in your bank, and we have no faces and no names and no relationships, because we will have this problem what we had with PPP, right?
So,
If I'm
so,
just
so,
a depositor, then I have no value.
right. I got you. So when I was speaking to the consumer side. Now, from the business standpoint, like I said, we have a certain amount of black businesses that we track and that we've reached out to try and make connections. And that's where the folks on this call can help me out with giving us additional names. So we have individuals that, like the people on my team and on several other teams, that will reach out directly to establish these relationships with the Black-owned businesses. So it'll be more of a proactive approach versus waiting for people to walk in the door. It's more of reaching out, understanding the business, seeing if it's a good fit with Bank of America and what services and consulting and advice that company might need. So it's more of a direct approach is what we're doing on the business side.
There's a question from Michael Banner. Through 2019, the FDIC reports that in the zip code 9888, B of A holds over $166 million of deposits. How much is lending to the small business owners in that area? And I guess this is outside of PPP. This is just the regular, if we weren't in COVID, in our regular world.
Yeah, so I don't have an answer for that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know those stats, and so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Okay, Colette, would you like to make a statement, a comment? Colette Moore.
Sure. Sorry about that. Yes,
okay.
I just wanted to share. I know that there was question about resources, and so we are an SBDC at Pacific Coast Regional, so we're available to advise with startups and existing new businesses. We did learn, I just wanted to share that, Crystal, thank you and there were a couple of other comments regarding financial help. We did find that many of the businesses that we were working with just were not prepared financially and have good financial literacy. So that is going to be a focus. We're working on plans to try to address that with basic training. We need some basic training. Our businesses have got to be better at understanding cash flow and putting a forecast together and understanding margins of their products that they're selling or the services that they're selling. And so I think that that's a big part of it. And I know the FDIC has programs available. They have webinars available that can be taught. And so hopefully B of A understands too, you don't have to start from scratch. There are a lot of resources out there, and we'd love to be able to participate in development as well of any of the programs, as well as participate as a program manager for one of the programs as well. So.
Yeah, thanks, Colette. I'm glad you guys were able to join, because PCR is one of the organizations that we strongly support, and that we've had a lot of our folks volunteer. And so if we could set up a program where a lot of our executives and our associates are volunteering to provide that kind of education, that'd be great. I know that you guys do good work over there. At our last Black History Month event that the Black Professional Group had, we actually featured a few of your small businesses in that meeting, companies that we helped you guys work with and that are thriving. And so we appreciate the work you guys are doing, and we're looking to do more of that type of work with organizations like yours.
We have a question from Edwin Lombard from the California Black Chamber. Edwin?
Edwin Lombard.
Good morning, Crystal. Thank you for having me on again today. Anthony, great meeting you, man. I think the world of your dad. We're good friends and, business. I just want to introduce myself and let you understand that California Black Chamber of Commerce, the newly formed California Black Chamber of Commerce, under my guidance and leadership, and Timothy Allen Simon, our board chairman, would like to discuss with your group how we can help you be as effective as you want to be with this money that's going to be spent in the Black community. Too many times we see money from organizations like yours get doled out, and it actually gets into the wrong hands, and there's no positive effect from it.
Right.
We want to make sure that the people who get the money are the right people that are going to get the money and going to do the right things with it, because we want to see systemic change. We want to see scalability just like you do, and we want to see sustainability, because now is an opportunity for the Black community to completely change the dynamic.
Right.
And we want to do that. We want to help you and organizations like yours that have put money up to make sure that it's done the right way, because we may not ever see this again.
So
I'll reach out to your dad to get your contact information, and hopefully we can connect, you know, on another platform and do some good things.
So Stephen, now you're my dad, not my uncle.
Oh, your uncle.
Hey, so going back to what you said, Edwin, you know, a lot of times, you know, decisions are made in a vacuum, right? And we're not sitting at the table when the decisions are made, and that's not going to be the case here. You know, they're partnering with us, and you know, they've asked for our input, and so that's why we kind of are doing this evaluation. I hate to use the word vetting, but kind of vetting process to make sure it's the right organization that can really have some impact down the road. So in this case, you know, this money, you know, we will have input as to where these dollars go. And then going back to the other gentleman who made the point for, you know, what the investment is over in 90008, and that's the area that my house in View Park is in. And you know, I was happy to find out that you know, the community rallied and saved the Crenshaw Baldwin Shopping Center, and so that's not going to be turned over to that SIM group. So that's a fantastic thing. But what I want to say is, I don't know the specifics, but I have some people on the line taking some notes, and so I will try and follow up and maybe shoot an email to Stephen or Krista or somebody as a follow-up item.
And if I can ask, I'm going to turn it back over to Turner, and there's a couple questions, but if I can ask everyone here that's a CBO that has, or with someone that some of our callers would like information on, if you can put your information in the chat box, and then when I go back to send out the recording and as well as the chat data, then they can have resources. So Vermont Slauson, Edwin, if you can do for the California Black Chamber, because a lot of these individuals that are on the call outside of us that are in the community-based organizations, they don't know how to reach anybody. Right? And they don't know what program. So can we make sure that this is our lifeline, and let's make sure that everybody knows that there are support out there. I see a lot of comments saying, I don't know how I can get help. The next thing was, what is, let me see, there was someone asking, far as the 100%, how, are there any updates on getting PPP loans 100% forgiven once they've been approved? And I guess you can only speak for B of A. So can you speak to that, Anthony?
Yeah, so like you said, I can only speak to B of A, but if you did receive a loan, PPP loan from B of A, they've actually extended the forgiveness period from 8 weeks to something like 24 weeks now. So it's not that short 2 months turnaround. So there is more time now. But you can consult with your banker. You know, they still are working out the final details on the forgiveness, you know, the way the forgiveness is going to happen. But to consult with your banker, but probably even more importantly, your attorney and your accountant, because they'll be the ones to keep you straight and make sure that you're meeting all the benchmarks in terms of what percentage of the money needs to go towards payroll versus other items and that type of thing. So the CPA is probably your best bet in terms of making sure at the end of the day, you're not going to be responsible for that money. So consult your professional partners, you know, the folks that you rely on, like your CPA and your attorney. And you can also talk to your banker as well. But I would definitely recommend your CPA and your attorney.
And I will add on to that, because I've had a couple clients. So here's the thing, the PPP, and for those of you that received the PPP, you know it was allocated to payroll, 60% is the new number. And then the balance was to your rent and utilities and so forth. So that didn't really leave you any money allocated for professional services like your attorney or your CPA to help you with this. But you are going to have to find that money somewhere, because from what I hear, the PPP, forgiving the application requires you having assistance doing it, because you want to make sure that it's filled out properly. So I don't know how we address that, but I do know that's an issue with a lot of my clients. They're trying to figure out, how do I, because CPAs don't work for free. Bookkeepers don't work for free. And it actually is, and I don't quite understand why this wasn't included in the calculation of that, because for this to work, you have to have some professional individuals that understand money.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. You know, it's actually gotten better. So that used to be 75% of that money had to go to payroll, and so they reduced it to 60%, and maybe that'll change again as people start raising their hand and saying that this is a real issue for them.
Yeah, and I think that might be it. We might need to raise our hands because that's going to be pretty extensive for the next, whether 26 weeks or whatever year that they have to get it paid back. Was there any other questions? Terry, did you have any questions? We're rounding up to our.
No, I'm good. I look forward to. I put my number out there in case we have anybody who wants to engage, but I look forward to continuing conversations, and this was a great time to get together.
Thank you. Stephen, you have some.
Yes, I have a question and a statement and an update. On behalf of the Black Business Association, as we approach our 50th year in business advocating for Black businesses, next month, June 25th, we're going to have our virtual salute to Black music, the economics behind the music. So mark your calendar on that. And secondarily, I want to recircle back to the conversation about an incubator for African-American businesses. I went to undergrad school in the Bay Area. My daughter's there also. And that particular business model has a new wrinkle to it now, the digital format. Anthony, if you could just tell us a little bit more about the benefits and the structure of an incubator and how that will benefit the Black business community.
So from my experience in volunteering in them before, like what Crystal mentioned, like some of these companies, don't have the resources for the professional services. And a lot of the incubators setups that I've been affiliated, or the one I've been affiliated with in the past, all those services are right there. So they could go, a Black business owner or a small business owner could go, and there was an attorney to talk to, there was an accountant to talk to, and the services were covered by the folks that support that incubator. And so it just creates a lot more resources for small businesses, and helps them avoid some of the stumbling blocks that a lot of our small businesses run into, especially like capital, raising capital, getting the right legal advice, having all their documentation right, getting their financial statements right, and all that good stuff. And a lot of that was taken care of in the incubator program. And so the success rate of companies that take advantage of those type of programs is much higher than the ones that don't. So that's how, in my opinion, that's how it would benefit the small Black businesses.
And that's why it's very important that when that money is allocated out, because again, most of our CBOs operate in that like an incubator type environment, but we never have enough funding in order to make sure that we have what we need to run a business. That's just, that doesn't happen mysteriously. It requires money to even make that happen from our side. So I think even from an incubator side, that's very important. So we're rounding up. I want to, I have a radio show as well. So it's tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock called the BusinessZone with Crystal and Gilbert. So please tune in. We're talking about June 19th, Juneteenth. So it's taking on a different flavor. Sometimes, in the past it's been here. Some people celebrated it, some haven't. But I think this year is taking on a real different impact in our community. This is a very rare time for us. One, I don't know if you guys know, and I know Edwin does, last Sunday a bill was passed to actually create a task force to talk about reparations in the state of California. And the state of California is quite, they're a leader in a lot of things. So that's very important. We need to have that conversation. In order to close this wealth gap, we have to be made whole, because we're 250 years behind white America when it comes to wealth. So all the money the B of A and anybody else can throw out there is not going to solve that problem. Reparations will solve that problem. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that is a way to level the playing field, and that's where we are. And until we fix the economic issue in our community, we're going to have racial problems, because the disparity from the wealthy to the poor is huge, and that's why we're in this boiling over place right now. So we have to fix that. So that's very important. You guys need to we need to vote November 3rd. It's imperative that we get out to vote. We need to go to planning meetings, because that CIM deal, with them taking over, wanting to take over Baldwin Hills Plaza, would not have taken place if those entities had not been at planning meetings. So that to know, and you need to be informed. You have to stay informed. And that's one of the reasons we have this forum. That's one of the reasons the Business Zone is there, is because everybody, this is a everybody problem, not just a few Black people. If you Black and you have children and those children are coming up behind you, we need to be all off the couch, out there with our voices, speaking loudly so we can be heard. So I'll finish preaching now. I want to thank everyone. Anthony, if you would provide, whatever contact information, and maybe when we go live again, maybe there can be, and maybe this is all banks, an entry, come to the community, come to our meetings. Introduce yourself, let people know who they can talk to, especially if we're not going to have brick and mortars. We have to know the people. For me, I bank at a bank that the minute I hit the door, the security guard knows my name. At all branches, they know who I am. Everybody that works there knows who I am. It's like my cheers, and that's the only way I bank. If you know who I am and I know who you are. Because other than that, you can't have my money. And that's just all I can say. Terry, you want to close out with Vermont Slauson?
Oh, folks, stay strong, stay in the game. Let's think. Let's just not take whatever comes our way as a message, but really think really hard about what we need to do, because we can only do this together. There's an old African saying that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. And if you want to go far, we all got to go together. So that's the word.
And that's where we are. We have to go in unity. And those that are in positions to forge the way for us. So, Anthony, I like the fact that B of A is bringing in diversity. And I think all corporations should have people that look like us and understand us and come from our communities, because you have a lot to input to those organizations. And I hope you're not fearful to state yourself, to do what you need to do in order to protect the community. Black people are a valuable part of the United States and the world. Without us, it would be a problem. And that's all I'm going to say. So we are a value. Our lives do matter. Our money certainly matters. And they love our culture. So if we take all that away, it'd be a problem now, won't it? So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday. Appreciate it. If you, the recording will be available later today, and also the very valuable list here. Anthony, we'll make sure you get a list so you'll know who's doing what in LA County. So thank you.
Anthony Turner, again, on behalf of all those called in, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today. You're a wealth of information. But let me close by this one statement. What can we as a community do to support you and other Black executives in this financial service arena?
So first of all, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to sit here and talk with you guys, and look forward to expanding or having additional dialogue with a lot of the organizations on the call. One of the things you can do, because like Crystal was saying, our dollars are valuable, right? So one of the things you can do is you can ask questions. You can demand that you only want to bank with an organization, or only want to do business with organizations that are socially conscious and that take this kind of stuff, diversity and inclusion, seriously. And so you can call them to the carpet on what their policies are, and let them know that you're only going to put your dollars with companies that make this a priority. And that goes a long way. I'd heard a story about one of our big time celebrities was going on a meeting with some financial advisors, was looking to invest some dollars, and 8 people walked in the room, and there was not a single Black person in the room. And they said, "I'm not doing business with you guys. You have nobody that looks like me in this room." So if we do that kind of stuff, they'll pay attention, because right now we give it away without really asking for anything in return. And so I think you should be more thoughtful and diligent about asking for what you want.
I completely concur. So you guys hear that. So we need to be vocal about our discontent. I'm very vocal. Anybody know me? I'm always being kicked off Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. So be vocal like me. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Juneteenth. And we'll see you guys. Be safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Keep your family safe.